Hey, what's up, everybody? Hi, my name is Onepeg. So, IGN's Travis Northrop did a video review of Escape from Tarkov's 1.0 release. Now, just so that we all have equivalent context, Travis Northrop gave Escape from Tarkov a 6 out of 10. He rated Concord a 7 out of 10. Also, and I'm not sure if he's going to mention this in his video review, but he may just read directly from the article that he wrote that was the companion of this video review. He has 120 hours total in 1.0. He has not played since 2018, and he hated Tarkov Arena. So, grain of salt, but let's see what he has to say. I'm interested. Yeah, we got the tree up. Death Knight looks dope. Anyway,
I remember being captivated by its obtuse, insanely challenging structure. Like PUBG was to the Battle Royale genre, this promising prototype of what would go on to be called an extraction shooter had so many unique elements going for it, even if it was sometimes completely broken in its early access state. All these years later, now finally hitting 1.0, it's pretty shocking how much has changed, while it simultaneously remains exactly as exasperating as I remember it. The hands-off approach to onboarding that forces newcomers to beat their heads against its unforgiving mechanics for dozens of hours before claiming even a single victory captures the same relentless challenge I've always adored, while other frustrations like its continued bugs, poor technical performance, and inability to address an abundance of cheaters remains disappointingly worse than ever. After over 120 hours with the 1.0 version, there's still something utterly compelling about the hyper-realistic combat simulation and never-ending loot treadmills it puts you on. But I can't help but feel like this progenitor may have been left in the dust of the genre it spawned.
so there you go. He says he has 120 hours. Anyway, we'll just skip ahead. Let's see.
Isn't just the original standalone extraction shooter, but also the one most fanatically adherent to the ruthless principles on which the genre was founded. Not only are you thrown into a deadly hellscape filled with lethal NPCs and merciless human opponents, you're also given absolutely no guidance in your quest for loot as you fight to survive.
This is him on the tutorial map. He's running through the tutorial right now. Killing scavs or whatever. He's still got the recorder on him even.
Practically none of the progression systems.
And I don't know, like, bro, what are you looting? So I don't even know in this situation what he's looting. He's got the starter MPX that you pick up right at the start. He's in the tutorial. He picked up an AK-12. He's got the UX Pro beanie in his inventory. He doesn't have his bandage hotkeyed. All of his meds are in his backpack. The MP9 mag that he picked up, he has no MP9. He doesn't need it. It's empty. He's got 2 rounds of subsonic 4.6 ammo that is also unneeded. He just doesn't have any experience. And there's no need for the Archangel stock or this or any of the stuff really that he's holding on to. Like, why do you have a thread protector in your chest rig?
Absolutely no guidance in your quest for loot as are explained to you. There's no map for you to look at while out in the field to indicate where you or the extraction points are, and you could easily spend tens of hours studying weapon attachments and ammo types just to understand how the heck to use the tools of death you'll find on your journey.
Or you could look up one of the plethora of new player guides on YouTube, which everyone at this point should have access to. In fact, if you are seeing this, I don't know if you guys knew this, you are on YouTube right now. I know it's crazy, but this, where this video is being displayed for you all to watch is on YouTube. Just go to the search bar and type in Tarkov New Player Guide. There's a ton of stuff. In fact, my last upload was a 10 tips guide for beginners of this video game. Maybe check that out. Anyway, he could probably benefit from it, as a matter of fact.
In some ways, I really admire how unapologetic Tarkov is. Its beautifully exacting game design and sense of discovery that takes place across hundreds of lessons learned the hard way can be incredibly rewarding. But then there are times where it's all just so dang frustrating, like how atrociously the UI and menus are organized as if they were designed specifically to offend you.
See, I disagree with this. I don't understand why you would think that the UI was confusing in any way. It looks exactly how it should. I mean, I don't know if this is his inventory or if this is someone else's. I mean, he's running around with a 6SH bag, and he's got 3 junk boxes. Maybe like this was later in his PvE run. 120 hours worth of game time for 3 junk boxes. I mean, that's absolutely doable, I suppose, if you're a newer player. I mean, that shouldn't be that outlandish. The organization is severely lacking, but I mean, I don't think that it's all that lack of intuitive. I mean, read the words on each tab, click some buttons. You can just understand how it works by doing. I mean, his Concord review was done on a PlayStation 5, so maybe he's assuming that the menus are supposed to be set up like console menus or something, but I mean, I felt the UI was fine for the majority of stuff.
Whether or not the payoff of finally feeling comfortable enough to bring your best equipment out and try for a proper extraction is worth it will ultimately depend on
And you used Mechanic to do repairs. I mean, what are we doing?
a couple things: your tolerance for pain and your drive to master something designed to really test your expertise of systems Tarkov refuses to teach you.
And your mouse sensitivity is crazy high. Crazy high.
I find myself somewhere in the middle, sometimes mesmerized by its impenetrable and challenging rough edges, while other times just downright disgusted by janky design decisions. For instance, I really got a kick out of figuring out various armor protection levels and corresponding ammo penetration ratings.
Yeah, rule of thumb, it's a factor of 10. 40 pen tier 4, 30 pen tier 3, 20 pen tier 2, but there isn't a tier 2.
Even though it often
It's not that hard to understand.
Times proved to be a complete maze and came with an extremely harsh learning curve of figuring out why I died instantly in one raid but survived getting shot 20 times in the next. For me, this was unforgiving in all the right ways, and a noted lack of handholding is something I connect with much more than the growing number of games that annoyingly treat you like you're stupid with ongoing tutorials. On the other hand, memorizing maps over the course of 10 hours apiece was less entertaining, specifically because this meant I frequently spent 20 minutes wandering around in search of an exit or a mission objective that was only described to me in the vaguest of terms. It seems like the community's solution here is to use online tools to figure this stuff out, so it's sort of baffling that they wouldn't just integrate one of those directly.
It isn't at all baffling why they wouldn't have integrated it directly to me. The entire point of the game is to learn by doing. You've said it 3 or 4 separate times. The reason why there's no map in the game is because the game devs want you to learn how to navigate the city as if you got dropped into the city knowing nothing about where anything is and having to make repeated attempts at surviving your runs. As if you were a PMC that got dropped into the city knowing where nothing is because you got stranded. That's the whole point. There are paper maps that you can find. You never made mention of that, though. But I feel like this question or that statement was answered by the author, in this case, repeatedly already.
So, with everything that frustrates me about Tarkov, what kept me playing for well over 100 hours, and what will likely keep me playing for hundreds more over the next year? Well, it's the fact that once you put in the time to dig your way through all the layers of grime and obtuseness, you'll find a pretty stellar extraction shooter that is quite hard to put down. Combat is an incredibly tense process of listening for rustling footsteps nearby and leaning out from behind cover to take precise shots, where a single bullet is all it could take to end another player's run or put down a marauding NPC. Running around with your rifle's flashlight blaring is an invitation for every enemy on the map to head in your direction with the aim of taking the gear from your corpse. And extracting with your loot is almost always accompanied by a deep sigh of relief. NPC factions, including bosses, add a really interesting element of surprise and randomness to raids too, where your best laid plans go sideways when you run into an unexpected badass. They range from a psychopath chasing you around with a giant sledgehammer to creepy cultists who try to stab you with poison daggers. Discovering these things
It's not lost on me that my man here is playing on PvE down there at the bottom.
Organically and either getting destroyed by or besting especially tough enemies to claim their loot kept me invested in exploring maps, even when navigating them was sometimes an enormous pain. When you're not raiding, you'll spend an almost equal amount of time with the tasks any extraction shooter worth its salt will have you doing, managing all the loot back at your hideout and using it to unlock cool stuff. The UI built around those activities is downright bad, and you'll have to work to figure out some of the
No, it's not. It's not bad at all.
Intuitive systems that compose them. But the loot game is just about the best one out there once you do. It puts you on a beautiful treadmill that realistically takes thousands of hours to properly complete. That rewarding sense of forward momentum isn't always there as
Now, see, like, again, he openly admits that this is a progression system that if you wanted to fully immerse yourself in it and get through it all, it would take thousands of hours. But he does not come across to me as somebody that is learned enough about Tarkov and how it's gone to, I don't know, make the impressions that he has. I don't know.
You'll spend
I feel like at 120 hours, which he had already said, at 120 hours, you're really just scratching the surface. Like, you've just started learning. It's one of those games where, like, you don't really have a firm grasp of it until you're, like, 500 hours in plus.
lots of time just grinding for cash by selling everything you find out on raids to vendors and stuffing your pockets with an absolutely obscene amount of nails and screw nuts to craft items you need back at your base. But it's hard to argue that developer Battlestate Games hasn't created one of the longest, most consistently enjoyable progression systems out there. The upgrades in question range from facilities in your hideout that let you do things like restore your damage taken for previous raids faster, store more loot in your stash, or test out your weapons at a firing range, almost all of which are genuinely worth the effort to
No
unlock.
fuel in the generator, but the
Many
power's
of those
on?
demand a whole
Brother,
hell
what
of
are
a
we
lot of
doing?
resources in order to do so. You'll also have an absolutely enormous list of story missions and side quests to complete, special items to unlock from vendors by exchanging rare materials, and more. Missions run the gamut of killing a certain amount of enemy combatants or looting specific items while out on raids. To more involved, plot-focused stuff like a side quest where I set up camcorders all over a warehouse to record myself killing people, presumably to then cut it into a sick highlights reel.
Take this, you motherfuckers!
Sure, actually chatting with each of the vendors who only speak Russian and have little in the way of personalities is a waste of time that only highlights how not great the story is. But
What? All right, that reaction to me, that statement is one in which it's like, I'm an American, or maybe he's Canadian or whatever, so it should be translated into English so that I can understand what they're saying instead of just reading subtitles. It's spoken in Russian because they're in Russia, obviously. Like, you know this. And then you're saying that it's like poorly voice acted and it's only in Russian. And then trying to say that the story itself is bad without taking the time to understand what the story is. See, because if you don't know the lore and what the story is and how everything fits together, it doesn't make sense to say that the story itself is bad. It's like at 120 hours, when you're doing even the main story missions and the side like missions to that main story, you're only being given the little bits of information that you need in order to progress that storyline along. You don't get the prestige, you don't get the payoff until the very end, where they explain like what's been happening and why it's the way that it is and how it got to this point. But to say that like there was a massive EMP that went off in the dead center of the city that took out all of the electronics and an American company that was acting as a globalist entity doing human experimentation, and you even have footage of you on labs, human experimentation that was getting found out and they were about to have their spot blown up. So they decided that they were going to kill everyone involved in working on that, a la Umbrella Corporation, rather than have that information get out into the public to save themselves, to the effect that they have even gone so far as to contract a company to literally nuke the city so that that information doesn't escape from Tarkov, while you have factions trying to vie for superiority in order to make or prevent that from happening. Like, to say that the story is bad, I think is bullshit. Clearly, this person does not have enough information on that. That is insane.
in a game about loot and long-term progression goals, Tarkov absolutely nails that bit, with a truly brilliant Sisyphean grind.
Если не хочешь стать добычей, и город наш стал таким местом.
One of the
And to say that, like, that line delivery, for example, was somehow bad, completely disagree. You can absolutely tell the tone and feeling from the voice actor that is voice acting Jaeger in that moment. He has a very good, like, fits the motif of Jaeger as somebody that is a woods survivalist, trying to teach you how to be a survivalist so that you can better combat the harsh conditions that Tarkov is going to deliver to you. I completely disagree with that take.
upsides of bothering to learn each of Tarkov's 11 maps is that they're all quite diverse and are filled with unique takes on the extraction format. On one map, I fought my way through military bases and bunkers and had to stand my ground while a massive armored train arrived to spirit me and my loot away. While on another, I wandered through the woods and the wreckage.
Wait, was he just on a scav run? Yeah.
Train arrived to
See, this is a PvE mode. He's fighting NPC player. He's fighting NPC PMCs. That is a player, but it's an AI player because he's playing PvE mode, and they're just derpy.
Spirit me and my loot away. While on another, I wandered through the woods and the wreckage of a crashed airplane while constantly looking to the horizon for snipers due to a distinct lack of cover. Another level requires keycards to enter and is filled with incredibly good loot, but also has equally formidable foes stalking the halls. While another still is just a massive shopping mall filled with stores waiting to
This dude still has not learned that by pressing B it changes your fire mode. Like I would, dude, get a Sherpa.
be looted. Learning the ins and outs of these levels can be a bit painful at the outset, especially since some things are quite annoyingly unclear, like how the boundaries of most maps are never explained and lethally enforced.
They are very well explained in most every circumstance. There are surprises, but I mean, there are signs almost everywhere. Sniper Extract has big plywood signs that have in Russian, like warning sniper, and there's a big like target reticle spray painted on there saying like if you go past this you're gonna get shot. There's also signage everywhere for minefields.
You'll get sniped by unseen enemies without warning.
Right there, brother. Right there on your right. It says danger mines in English. It is not the game's fault that you fail to recognize detail.
Defined borders, and in another, you'll get immediately blown to pieces due to the edges of the level being a literal minefield.
Yeah, that was marked with a red sign that you missed.
Unfortunately, Tarkov's intentionally punishing design is marred by completely unintentional issues that have made this full launch much harder to enjoy. At least in these first couple of weeks with 1.0, there are still numerous bugs I would have hoped to have been cleared up after so many years in early access, like characters getting caught.
Why was shooting at Killa right there an example of a buggy interaction?
On objects or clipping through walls, desync and rubber banding that monkeys with hit registration, loot that's visible but painfully lodged in the environment so it can't be picked up, and numerous issues with the already ugliest sin menus that make navigating them even more frustrating. And
yeah, I mean, networking errors, not shocking at all. Oh, and you're level 3.
Although the servers have never exactly been speedy, it's still pretty shocking that it took me about 5 minutes of loading every time.
But see, it didn't take you 5 minutes of loading. It took you a couple of minutes of waiting, in this case, when you're saying 5 minutes of loading, because on this screen, again, something that he would know if he had done his homework and checked in or like asked about it, the waiting for players section means that there's someone else with a slower computer or somebody that DC'd where the client is waiting for that person to load into the map so that everyone starts at the same time. Because once upon a time, Tarkov didn't do that, and it allowed people to start up in the map. If they were PMC, they got to start up in the map up to like, 5 minutes late or something like that, so that people didn't have to wait as long. But that caused problems with people spawn camping, so they stopped doing that, and now this screen is to wait for everyone to load in so that everyone is loaded in at the same time and it's all synced.
I wanted to enter into a match, during which time my menu was locked up, so I couldn't even fiddle with my inventory or engage in stash organizing busy work.
Now that I agree. That I agree with. You should be able to move stuff around in your stash when you load, while you're waiting to load into a raid. It would be much better to be able to like organize things while you're loading in.
While waiting. Even more alarming is the continued prevalence of cheaters, who continue to plague the PvP servers so they can sell their ill-gotten items back to the people they've ripped off via an in-game trading market. It's all the usual stuff like wall hacks, aimbots, and moving it faster than normal.
But that wasn't wall hacks or aimbot. This is not an instance of wall hacks or aimbot. You got shot in the chest by somebody that was bush camping, and then you died from a shot to the right. There's some guy over in here somewhere.
Back to the people they've ripped off via an in-game trade.
You got shot in the chest.
In-game
You got shot in the chest from like directly in front of you.
Market. It's all the usual stuff like wall hacks, aimbots, and moving it.
And then you got shot from the right. This is not indicative of cheating whatsoever.
Plague the PvP servers so they can sell their ill-gotten items back to the people they've ripped off via an in-game trading market. It's all the usual stuff like wall hacks, aimbots, and moving it faster than normal speeds, but in a game where all your loot is on the line, not doing a better job to mitigate this kind of stuff is pretty...
I mean, I don't know why this would be indicative of a cheater when you have a white name yourself. You're literally marked as Tie Guy Travis with your Discord armband. And yeah, I mean, like, this doesn't necessarily mean that he was cheating.
hard to
It looks like you just got shot in the chest and then shot in the side.
swallow.
Because you were walking in a wide open area.
In fact, it was such an issue in my first 10 hours that I decided to spend the vast majority of my time for this review just focusing on Tarkov's PvE.
See, like, okay, I can understand calling cheats. We, as a community, agree that cheating in this video game is an issue. I think just about everybody agrees with that. We do. I want to say that first. However, to say that you are being constantly cheated on when you are brand new, like level 3, level 4, and understand that this review that has been posted is now on the 4th of December. It's more than 2 weeks post-launch from Tarkov, right? Escape from Tarkov's 1.0 launch has been over 2 weeks ago. So you, I would assume, maybe did this a week or so in for your 120 hours. Maybe played around like day 3, day 4, little bits here and there, whatever, and then switched to PvP mode. I don't know if you played on the day of release, but to say that like at 10 hours, you're being cheated on the onset when those same cheating boards, forums, whatever, were all exploding with how they had to take multiple days, a week, whatever. Most of the retail cheat providers had been blowing up about how they had to do a different new whatever decompile of Tarkov's code so that they could rewrite the cheating software that they had been using because Tarkov used a new compiler. Like, that was a thing for like multiple days. And then if you're saying for your first 10 hours of gameplay, you're getting cheated on so much that you had to switch to PvE, I call shenanigans. If only because at 10 hours, if you've never really played this game before, there are sounds that you make that you don't realize that you are making that other people can hear. There are audible cues that get made all the time by people depending on where they step. When you slow down to a crawl or slow down to a walk and think that those steps are relatively quiet and that people can't hear you, they can. And there are headsets in the game that have differing levels of distance and players that have 10,000 plus hours in this video game that understand certain audio cues and know exactly where someone is based on those audio cues. And they will pre-fire corners, they will make assumptions, they will turn corners and fire even if there wasn't going to necessarily be anyone there. They will turn corners and fire just because you might be. So to call cheats to the effect that you were forced into PvE mode at only 10 hours of gameplay, I call shenanigans. I don't think that you have enough experience to make that determination.
Mode for my sanity's sake, which removes other players entirely aside from those you bring with you. For a sweaty
Now, if you want to go play PvE, like go play PvE, knock yourself out. But like
PvP tryhard like myself, forsaking
dude says he's a sweaty PvP tryhard, but didn't put in the tryhard hours.
the competitive mode goes against
Just
every
saying.
instinct I have. But with the exploitable state of the PvP servers as they are, it was definitely the right choice.
I mean, yeah, but the AI is significantly more stupid. I mean, they can be intense in certain situations, but they're pretty dumb.
Even if you can look past a lot
It's not easy, but it's easier.
of the jankiness, which I generally can, you still might be infuriated by the current monetization model. Now, normally cost has no actual impact on the quality of a game's content, but Tarkov is a bit of an exception in that its uber premium packages come with straight up pay-to-win perks that are just about as nasty as can be. Over the course of the past 2 weeks, I progressively purchased all 4 of Tarkov's escalating packages in order to try them out firsthand, which range from the standard $50 version up to a whopping $250 version, and each one offers more appallingly game-changing boons than the last. The benefits granted are incredibly powerful boosts that give you quite an advantage. You can get an exclusive safety pouch that's up to 50% larger.
I mean, yeah, the gamma container.
Allowing you to keep more of your valuable items upon death. Certain hideout upgrades that offer huge benefits can be unlocked automatically, like a massive amount of additional storage space.
The cultist circle is big. I'll give them that. Like, we did videos about, like, the pay-to-win nature of Tarkov, but
that normally costs millions of in-game dollars and rare materials to acquire.
Yeah.
Most outrageous of all,
Yeah.
though, are the boosts to vendor reputations that would otherwise take dozens upon dozens of hours to earn, which are a pathway to
Yeah.
purchasing better gear
Yeah.
that gives you a huge leg up on progression. It's
Yeah.
so insane and shameless that I honestly felt bad playing alongside my friends who had the standard edition.
Tarkov is on the continuum of pay to win. It's what people have most commonly referred to as pay for convenience. We have talked about this to no end. You can't directly buy in-game currency or guns, or you can't buy currency that leads to the ability to purchase guns and armor and ammo and all that stuff. You can't do that, but you can ease the frustration of Tarkov by buying more storage space, and then with Unheard Edition, you get like the pockets expansion slots, and for your legs, 2 of them become 1x2s, and yeah, it's egregious in its pricing. It is. It absolutely is. The one caveat is that the pricing is one time. It's not something that you have to continue to purchase over and over again. And when Edge of Darkness was introduced, it came with a Gamma container, all the storage space, bells and whistles, perks, whatever. No one said a fucking thing. No one said booey until like 2022. And then all of a sudden people were like, wait, that's pay to win. And it suddenly turned into like this egregious issue. Now, I can't sit here and say that I am a purist when it comes to pay to win stuff, because I have owned Edge of Darkness. I own 3 EOD accounts. I bought another 25 EOD accounts that I've used for giveaways. And one of my mods paid for the $50 upgrade for the Unheard Edition. Otherwise, I wasn't going to buy it myself. Someone else was like, well, if I give you the money, then you'll do it, right? And so I caved, because I felt like a shitbag if I didn't do that. But and I know that people will take that statement and they'll go to the comments and they'll be like, oh, of course you did, blah, 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 Reddit speak. Whatever, bro. Like, it's not that serious. It's a fucking video game. Just get over it. My point being is, historically, this has been a thing for a very, very long time. And just about every single extraction game does something similar to this, with the exception being like Arc Raiders. But even in that case, you're getting cosmetic stuff, which doesn't really matter, aside from the fact that certain backpacks like literally glow in the dark, and there are skins that you can use for money that make your character model harder to detect in shadowy spots. So, I mean, to some extent, you could even argue that, but that is like really, really low on the continuum. Tarkov, I think, is somewhere like kind of sort of in between, because there's an awful lot of easing that gets done when you buy Unheard, and then if you go to the market, the store, and buy like the extra stash space and stuff from there too, which also does even more. So anyway.
Escape from Tarkov is the extraction shooter that started it all, and many of its dense, mercurial systems are fascinating to learn and master at your own pace, as it viciously refuses to hold your hand. I genuinely love that unapologetic challenge, but an equal number of things about it are obnoxious, janky, or just plain scuffed to an unacceptable degree.
Okay, so the video review was actually cut short. There's actually a couple of other sections in the write-up that he did, in the article that he did, where one, he tried to pick on the visual fidelity of Tarkov by saying that Tarkov wasn't a very pretty game. One of the things that I noticed, though, for example, in this case, is he doesn't have very much anti-aliasing going on. Like, you can see the ridge lines on this box, for instance. So I don't know generationally speaking, what PC it is that he's playing on, or how good the hardware is, or anything of the sort, but it looks as though he's got the graphics turned down pretty low to play what he's playing at the moment. And he also said that he would not recommend that anybody go play Arena. The verbiage that he used, I'm just going to read it off the screen, was, a typical match involves teammates with slurs for usernames, threatening you to perform well in the lobby before screaming at you and then quitting the match after a single round. Some of Escape from Tarkov's quests will point you toward this mode, and playing matches can reward loot that you can bring back to the main game, but even so, I don't suggest spending time here. There's definitely a joke to be made about how he would never have survived a COD lobby back in the day, right? Which, again, is something that people can report, and I do know that Tarkov does police it at some degree. I don't know how much, but I know that they do, or have done. And of course, there's going to be offensive names. People try to get around word filters all the time. But if you're going to judge whether or not Arena is a fun video game experience because of the names that people use and the fact that you didn't bother just turn off VoIP with a hotkey, I don't really think is on the game developer necessarily. Maybe on their customer service, but not necessarily on the video game and its devs. Also, he mentioned in this same review that he felt bad for his friends that had the standard edition of Tarkov. I assume that those friends didn't bother to go play Arena with him or bother trying, but like, it's a much different experience if you're playing with your homies versus just playing in a lobby full of people like screaming at each other in VoIP. So I guess my question is, why wouldn't you just try to play Arena with your friends? Because I mean, there's lots of people that don't have friends, but in the absence of friends, why not just turn off the VoIP? I mean, there's hotkeys in the game that exist specifically just to turn it off. I mean, you could have just turned it off. Anyway, yeah, I take a lot of issue with this article. I think that it's some bullshit. I think that the guy rating Concord a point better than Tarkov is completely full of shit. I agree that there is jank. I agree that there are cheaters. But I don't agree that you could make the determination at 10 hours how bad the cheaters are in the video game. Other than stories that you heard and you just like rocked your own bias. And I don't think that trying to shit on the visuals of the video game by itself is valid. I think that if the video game looked like dog shit and the gameplay was also dog shit, then you would have something. But you can look at a video game like BattleBit, for example, that has garbage visual fidelity, right? Or you could go and play like the Tarkov-esque like game that exists on like Roblox, for instance. I can't think of the name of it, but those don't have like astounding visuals, but the gameplay is really good. And that's the trade-off. Visuals, in my opinion, don't matter necessarily as much as the game's story or quality of offering when it comes to gameplay, mechanics, that kind of stuff. Tarkov has that in droves. And at its core, Tarkov is an amazing video game. I don't think a 6 is justifiable. I think a 6 is a dog shit rating. At minimum, 7.5 to 8. Minimum. So anyway, this reviewer is full of shit. He has no idea what he's talking about, and IGN is writing shit dog slop. That's it. It's a slop. It's a slop article with like 2 good points, and the rest of it is trash. So that's my take. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Thank you for lending me your eyeballs, everybody. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Peace.